Welcome to Native Bidaské, Native News Online's weekly spotlight on the people making news and leading change in Indian country.
Welcome to another edition of Native Bidaské. During October, we're going to devote 4 Fridays to talk to candidates running for office, candidates who are Native American. We at Native News Online feel it's very important that the Native vote is engaged, energized, and go vote. Vote early, and you have to wait till election day. Some states don't have early voting, but we encourage you to vote. So this week we have a very special guest, and she is Mercedes Krause, who is running for the 2nd Congressional District seat in the state of Nevada. And she is Lakota, and I'll let her tell you a little more about herself. But she's an educator, a union member, been on the the Minority Affairs Commission in the state of Nebraska, working in the education committee. She's done some really wonderful things. So welcome to Native Bidaské, Mercedes. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Again, my name is Mercedes Krause, also Muksape Ikiluin, she who seeks knowledge. I'm a citizen of the Oglala Lakota Nation and a Santee Dakota descendant, and born and raised in Nevada.
Great. Now, you're running in the 2nd Congressional District in Nevada. Tell us a little bit about the makeup of the district, and tell us what your chances are, and we'll have a nice conversation.
All right. Well, one of the unique things about the 2nd Congressional District is 18 of our 28 tribal communities are housed in that district. So there are a lot of tribal communities. It's rural. But then there is, Washoe County, where Reno and Sparks are, where it's more of a city. So it's a very diverse community.
And what's the makeup? You're running as a Democrat.
Okay.
Tell us about that split.
Okay, that the way it is right now in District 2 and also Nevada, it's about a third Democrat, a third Republican, and a third nonpartisan. So you can see the nonpartisan vote is very, very important. Just all the votes, but the nonpartisan vote is going to be the decision maker.
And tell us about your campaign. Are you knocking on doors, going to tribal community centers? How are you campaigning?
Yeah, the district is huge. It touches 4 other states,
Oh, wow.
California, Idaho, Oregon, and Utah. So, traveling, it is a lot of travel. But it's fun. The desert is beautiful. So I'm enjoying the drives, and also, getting into communities. I had some of the most wonderful experiences. It's really fun. Part of my campaign has been attending powwows and community events. And I think that's pretty unique. And it's been really nice also. There is a tribal outreach team that I'm working very closely with, and they're working with some of our other representatives and those who are running, people who are incumbents and also running, and they're coming out there in the community. And it feels really special to be in part of a grand entry and be able to address the community. Some of the most wonderful moments, I was at the Pine Nut Festival powwow, and I gave my introduction and I spoke. Number 1, I met another Oglala, and I met a little girl who was Oglala and Walker River. Small world. My cousin's sister was her dad's principal.
Wow. It is a small world.
Yeah, really small world. And then not just that, it was, I get emotional when I think about it. Standing there, and after I gave my introduction and the MC said, "Look, everyone, look, she's a Native American woman. She can do this, and so can you. Everybody can do this. Keep this in mind, keep studying." So just, that, and, youth coming and asking to take pictures with me, and just, anytime we can feel that hope and that feeling that, heck yeah, we can do this. It's a beautiful feeling. So I've had, campaigning has been unique and wonderful.
Now, we know, you and I both know that you cannot win strictly on, if you got 100% of the native vote, you still need the non-native votes. So what are you doing to reach out across racial, ethnic lines? Not, and we're actually political entities, so political lines. So tell us how you try to get that white vote, the Hispanic vote, the black vote, Asian vote. Tell us about that.
Well, I am advertising in Hispanic magazines. My father, you notice the last name Krause, it's German, but also my dad is Spanish. So I speak Spanish also.
Wow, okay, nice.
It was pretty neat. We had for Indigenous Peoples Day, many times we'll invite the Aztec dancers. So it's pretty neat, to be able to speak Spanish with Spanish speaking Indigenous people. That's about 20% of the community in District 2. But also, the issues are so much the same. Even I take it back to the Illuminatives survey. And what are the top two issues that came up in that? Access to mental health care and elder care. Guess two of the topics, no matter where I'm at, that come up the most. And, one of the stories that I tell is, at one of my first candidate meet and greets, there was a woman, she was about my age. She was caring for her elderly mother, and her mother's Social Security was $900 a month, and her medicine was $800 a month.
Oh my word.
These issues with, the access to healthcare, mental health care, caring for elders, it affects everyone. So does education. I don't know if you know our education ranking in Nevada. I hope you don't. It's kind of embarrassing. We're 49th. We have an F in school readiness. We have an F in school funding. So, these education issues affect everyone. And one of the things that I would like to see is, from the federal level, what we can do. This year in Nevada, our teacher shortage was 3,000 teachers. So imagine if that's overall what it's like in the rural and tribal communities. Rural and tribal communities have the same issues I was saying. What I would like to see is some federal funding for housing in rural communities and tribal communities so that they can get, high quality educators. Also, I would like to see, tax credits for educators and other areas of high need that are lacking in rural areas and tribal areas. So, our issues, we're all suffering the same in the community. Inflation, we're all, I do say that we are all one community. And, I do accent Indigenous issues a little bit more just because we haven't had the visibility, but it's just stepping into the circle and saying, hey, we're part of this community in Nevada also. Let's work together. What can we do to make it better?
Yes, that's quite a platform. I do want to share with our audience that we still have our Native News Online survey. So if you haven't taken it yet, please go to Native News Online and find that survey, take it. We've had hundreds and hundreds of respondents thus far, and Mercedes kind of telling preliminary numbers are showing that tribal sovereignty and the women's right to choose are the two number one issues that our respondents are filling out. So where are you on this women's right to choose?
I'm a mother of 3 daughters and a woman that was fortunate enough to have the right to choose when and where, how she was going to have her family. And what I always say, what I want for me and my daughters, I want for everyone else. And, I hope that we can work this out because it's very funny. It's not funny. It's not funny, but it's very ironic. I just had my debate with the Republican nominee. And when we're talking, we're on the same page, but it's the voting part that we're not on the same page. So that's the part that has to give. We have to be reasonable. We have to be honest about what we're going to vote for. We need to protect a woman's right to choose. We definitely need to do that. And, we see the heartbreaking stories of what's happening in Ohio. And I mean, there it is right there. We do not want that for ourselves or for anyone else in our country.
Yes. Well, thank you for that answer. And I know it took, and you know this, 116 Congresses before there was a Native American woman elected to Congress. And as it turned out, we actually had both. We had two, I should say. Deb Haaland, who is now the U.S. Secretary of the Interior, Laguna Pueblo, doing a wonderful job at the Interior Department. And
Yes.
then, of course, we have Representative Sharice Davids, who's Ho-Chunk Nation, and they both were elected in 2018, but it took 116 Congresses. So tell me this, why are you running? I mean, did they inspire you? Talk about the Native woman approach.
I will say 1000%. I'm that little girl looking, this was very frightening for me. I mean, it is a big step. It took courage. And guess where I did draw some of that courage? I drew that courage whenever I would get afraid. I would picture Auntie Deb on the cover. I could get emotional on the cover of that magazine.
I get emotional talking about her.
On the cover of that magazine, like I close my eyes and I just picture that beautiful, strong image. And I'm like, yes, I can do this. My intentions are good. We can do this. And then also I was a part of Advanced Native Political Leadership, and having Sharice Davids in there, it means everything. And the more we get involved, the more we can see, yes, we deserve to be there. Our voice is important. We can make a better change for our community and our whole community. And I really believe that. I say it over and over. I think if just 10% of us, even just 10%, can come together to push for that change that we want, we can make it happen. It's possible. And especially if we're voting.
Yes.
Our vote is our voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had the opportunity to be at the election celebration for Sharice down in Kansas City area in 2018, and I have to tell you, it was very emotional, and to see a Native woman win, and then of course Deb Haaland has gone on a stepping stone. So to the young Native women out there, young girls, hey, those are your leaders, your examples. They are fierce warriors, and I wish them all well, and I wish your campaign too well as well on Mercedes, because we need that Native voices. And it's interesting enough, Representative David said that the first year they were in Congress, she and Deb Haaland spent like a year with her colleagues doing the Native, we call it Indians 101 or Native Americans 101, because in a lot of times people are elected to Congress have to make decisions that impact millions and millions, if not billions of dollars for Indian country, but yet they're very limited in their knowledge of us. And so that representation is so important.
Yeah, that's something that I say also. Like, of course, we love our allies. I mean, we need our allies. But you know how it is when you meet someone else who understands because they're from your community. You don't have to spend all that time explaining for them to understand a portion of what the situation is. Imagine how fast we can get things moving when all of that explanation time is erased, that, you know, the knowledge is there, that the representation is there. It's about making things happen. I mean, I would say that's why I got involved myself. I was pretty quiet. I was a very reserved person. I was raised that way. So what I would do is I would turn to the leaders in my school district or in my community, and I would say, hey, this is happening. It's not good. Please help. Then I noticed a year later, I'm telling the same story to the same person. I started getting angry when a decade had passed, my kids are graduated, and the same situation is still there. There comes a time like, okay, you know, it's time for action. It obviously, my more passive voice did not bring resolution. So we really need to be actively speaking up about what is important until it's recognized and until action happens, because talking about things, it doesn't make anyone's life better. And for me, my platform stands on respect for tribal sovereignty, our dignity, which comes from, I call it a dignity that gives a space for joy in our lives. This is what's missing for many of us. It's so hard unnecessarily because of, we don't have the dignity of a living wage. We don't have the dignity of affordable housing, healthcare, education opportunities, economic opportunities. So this, and then respect for our rights, and not just saying it, but voting in a way that reflects a respect, not just my rights, what I think is good for me, but for our whole community.
And what talk about that in terms of voter suppression out there against the native vote? What are you seeing, and are you going to be overcome any of those obstacles?
You know what? It's not me, it's we. And yes, it's we. All over our whole state, there are so many amazing people doing the work. That's why we have such representation. I mean, such a stepping up. According to National Congress of the American Indian, last election, our demographic had the highest percentage of voter turnout. This is because not just one person or a couple people. This is because our whole state and our whole country, our Indian countries, coming together to get out the native vote. And as I said, we had legislation for tuition waiver, Indigenous tuition waiver. We had the name places, but we also had legislation for polling places in tribal communities. Last election, there were 8 polling places. 11 were added for this election. So we're up to 18. We have 28 tribal communities. So we are really making progress. But yes, there still is, even though a law was passed for that, there are some county clerks saying, oh, okay, well, we can give you 2 days of early voting, or we can give you a ballot drop box. And we're like, hey, that's not what the law said. Legislation was passed. We need to follow what that says. And of course, I mean, that takes all the community, and at the national level, having support from a legal team, for directions, and NARF supporting to make sure that does not happen. And, it really does. Again, that's what we need. It's the we.
I appreciate what you just said. I know we did some coverage about the Duck Valley Paiute tribe out there, that there's a lawsuit pending right now, and really there has to be a lot of attention given to it, because and I really love what you were saying. Like, I'm friends with OJ over at Four Directions, and of course we know our good friends at NARF. They're doing a great job, and we try to report on it as much as possible here at Native News Online, because we feel like we have to amplify those problems that exist against our natives, people who want to vote. And as Deb Holland said at the Democratic Convention, almost 2 years ago, I guess, or it was 2 years ago, that voting is sacred, and I agree with that. So.
That's the issue. I find so many times our allies who haven't been around for a while, when we're first meeting them, we have to explain our voter suppression issues are not long ago. Our issues with, our children being taken, it's not ancient history. I say my mom was affected because there was not ICWA, and my grandmother was in boarding schools. It's one generation back that my mother was, taken from our family. This voter suppression is happening right now. It's not something that was ancient history. And then also, talking about ICWA, that's another reason why representation is so important. I can't, as someone whose family was affected by ICWA not being in place, what happened to my mother, it's so important to me for that aspect, for our children, but also our tribal sovereignty. So being involved, that action is supposed to happen on November 9th, that support court case, Holland
Yes, yes.
trucking. And I'm thinking I have another event where my opponent is going to be there, but he's going to be sitting in power at the time. I want to have a conversation, like in a good way, a conversation with him, telling him how important ICWA is, hoping that they will take action to protect it. And if I weren't here, I mean, I wouldn't be able to have that conversation. And hopefully, I will be there in the future to be the one to vote for the protection of our children and for everything that we need to happen.
Yes, that's so important. ICWA is a major threat. If the Supreme Court rules in favor against it, if they vote against it, our very sovereignty is at question. So it's such an important issue, and to our viewers,
Yes,
can't emphasize enough the importance of what's going on and how votes really do matter.
yes.
Representation matters, as the candidate just said. Tell me this: why are you a Democrat?
I am a Democrat because that's where I have been heard. As I said, I was a nonpartisan voter. I was very active with my union, so I would vote for the pro-education candidates, and most of them were Democrats. So I would register, as I said, vote my union ticket, and then go back to being a nonpartisan. But when things started to shift, like, okay, wait, I told you I was going to leaders and things were still happening. When I started using my voice more, I found that allyship in the Democratic Party, and I kind of tiptoed. I was like, okay, as long as they're listening and I feel heard and they're taking action and not just patronizing me, okay, I'll stick around. Let me see how this works. But it's been since about 2016, and as I said, this allyship has really helped us help things happen for our community and the larger community.
And I really do appreciate that answer. We oftentimes, and especially when you're online publications such as we are, and on Facebook and wherever else, Twitter, we get these trolls sometimes, and they will just blast Native people for being, so many of us vote Democratic, but they question that and say they've never done anything for us, this, that, and the other. But so I really do appreciate you. They've been there for us.
And
So I love that answer, because to me, I think people need to know that. And it's not just a matter of some who've been out front, like you have been, working on issues that impact the lives of Native people. You know where your help has been. So that is, I love that answer. So thank you very much for that. Chimigwich. And I have one more question, and that is, how can Indian country or campaign?
All right. I am really appreciative when people like and share my social media to get the word out there. People who are in a position to donate, it takes a lot. I did not realize how much those signs cost until I had to start ordering them. And even the walk literature. It's pretty cute when I look back on my early literature that my friend and I put together and printed. We made little bookmarks and printed them. And now I'm proud of that. I mean, that was amazing. But I have more professional literature right now. But it is costly. And if you are inclined, I definitely would appreciate if you would, consider donating to my campaign. Also, making sure, reach out to me, to other leaders, whoever you have access to, and keep talking about the issues that are affecting you, because we can't be quiet until things change, and things won't change if we keep quiet.
That's so true. And I sit back that people who are so apolitical and say that our votes don't matter. And then we deal with a Supreme Court that's very harsh. Tell me our votes don't matter. Yes, they do.
Yes,
and,
they do.
and if I can put it in this maybe almost crass language, we get slapped around so often as Native Americans that shame on us for not voting. Some of our elders have really worked hard through the years, and we know that Native Americans have fought contributed at a higher percentage than any other racial ethnic group in the United States in the military. Those people who fought for democracy, we have to fulfill, honor what they've done, the sacrifice they've made. We need to go vote. And so I'm real passionate about voting. So go ahead.
Yeah, me too. And what I say is I hear you. I can't say that I didn't feel like that at one point, but I have experienced the difference it makes. Instead of, just crying around about stuff, use your voice, get involved, talk to leaders. Let's test it out. How about if we all vote and see, and then, we'll see the things that happen. And I can tell you from our experience here in Nevada, don't you see the correlation? Highest voter turnout percentage wise, legislation passed for our rights for voting, protection of our sacred sites, our education, which is one of the biggest issues that we're facing. I have seen it myself. That's why I can speak to it. And I want to see it everywhere, because I do believe that we can create what we want to see for our children.
Yes. And thank you so much, Chimigwich, to Mercedes, for coming on, and much success with your campaign. And if you have any other issues between now and election day, please feel free to reach out to us. We will do some coverage. So to our viewers, Chimigwich, thank you for watching another episode of Native Bidaské. As I said earlier, each Friday this month of October, we will dedicate our episodes to the Native vote, stressing the importance of voting, and we will have other candidates on. So again, thank you for watching, and have a good week.
Thank you.
If you appreciate what we do here at Native News Online, we invite you to donate to support our continued work covering Indian country. You can scan this code with your smartphone or go to the link located below this video to donate today. We greatly appreciate your support. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And be sure to scan this code or go to the link below to subscribe to our newsletter. Thank you for joining us today, and please be sure to join us again next week for another episode of Native Bidaské. Chimigwech.